Save gas, guys. Save gas.
Oh, boy.
So everybody just riding around. You can go out here and stand on the side of the interstate and watch cars run up and down the road. Basically, they're under a caution flag all the time.
The cars brought a lot of this on, Richard.
Definitely.
The cars brought so much of it
It's
on.
not the drivers. The drivers are doing everything they can to get something out of the car, and there's nothing there.
But what could they have done to have been better?
I know that's what I'm saying. I sit there and in my mind, would horsepower help anything? I don't know. But they got these cars so draggy. Well, here we are again, buddy.
Yeah, and I guess both of us watched it on television, Richard, and seen what they wanted us to see. And I don't guess it was a typical Talladega Daytona race because they did not have the big one.
No, they missed out on that, which was good. Okay.
Yeah.
But just me sitting there watching what they showed on TV, and even the people in the grandstand, the cars just got in line and they just run, and they run and they run. And, to begin with, they start off 4 abreast.
4 abreast.
Then they got down to 3 abreast, and then I guess they got tired of driving so hard, so then they got to running 2 abreast. And then the first thing you know, save gas, guys, save gas.
Oh, boy.
So everybody just riding around. And, there was the guys that was driving, they drive their panty off, just trying to stay off of each other, not hit each other and stuff. So they worked hard at doing what they done, but they couldn't do nothing. And it was just, it looked like a pace lap every time. You know what I mean? The guys out there, they thought they was racing, and they was racing, but there was no place for them to race. And to me, it was just, it wasn't a race. It was just a happening, and they happened to throw the green flag. They threw the checker flag, and the number 2 car won the race, and he just happened to be in front at that time.
A couple of disqualifications, but we don't know about that all as of right now,
Yeah.
But I think Richard, maybe it's the first time the Fords have been the fastest in
Daytona and Talladega
and Atlanta too, qualifying, And I think it's the first race that speed has really showed up to control the race.
I don't know that speed showed up,
especially at the end.
The control showed up, yes.
At the end of the race.
But those 2 Chevrolets that run 3rd and 4th, really the Ford running side by side, they just kept everybody from going anywhere.
And they didn't want to give up 2nd or 3rd either.
That's right.
But I think they was 2 or 3 pretty big moves. Well, the first pit stops, it took out 2 top contender cars.
Yeah, right.
And I watched it over and over. I really don't know what happened. Somebody just ran over somebody and they tore up 2 good cars. And then there was, of course, some speeding on pit road and stuff like that. But one of the good moves, I think, was before, I guess, the second stage, Denny Hamlin and maybe the 19 car and maybe one more Toyota come in and change 4 tires and then stayed out to gain track position. I thought that was good. But that was gutsy, Richard, not to get lapped and to change tires. I thought that was gutsy.
But they had to be 2 or 3 of them together. One of them by themselves.
No, I get that. It had to be a plan.
Yeah.
But then I guess the Toyotas was going to do fairly decent. I don't think they was going to win the race. But they all come in and got back out. But somehow the 77 car got in front of them, pitted with them. And they were doing good. And then when they come up to race with some of the people coming out on pit road, that one car done a real big block, running probably 100-mile-an-hour slower than they was. The 77 got through and finished 7th, which finished 8th. So he'll move up one. But I think the 11 and the 43 and the 23 and maybe the 54 all had to put on brakes
and check up.
And that kills momentum with no horsepower.
That was the last pit stop everybody made.
Yes.
See, the Toyotas was all out, and they took off and running. First 5 or 6 cars was Toyotas, and they had to stop early for gas, and then the Fords and Chevrolets, and they had a couple of different pit stop deals strategies, but they didn't have to take as much gas, so they was in front of the Toyotas. Well, the Toyotas caught up, but there wasn't no place for them to go. And then, like you say, the one car stopped that line of Toyotas. And so then the party was over because everybody, but they had the momentum that they had a chance to pass some of those cars.
And then hold some position
right.
till the end of the race.
But it was just a crapshoot, I guess. And it was all, if you was in fifth position, that's where you was going to stay. There was no place for you to go in front because at the end of the race, the 5 car and the 24 were trying to get around the 2 Fords in front, but they stayed side by side. There was no place for them to go. And, even they started the third line, there was nobody in front of them. They was going to go backwards, so they couldn't afford to get out of line.
Well, I couldn't keep the 21 and the 54 was about alike. Paint schemes trying to keep up with them, and I finally could halfway keep up with our 43 car, which that's where our heart and soul's at. But I think at the end there, he was at the back of the line, and I think he got to moving around back there in the back, and he was going to try to start the third lane, but they couldn't get nothing going, and I think he gained 2 or 3 positions, right at the start, right at the end of the race. Yeah. But he was back there trying to mix it up, and other than that, it was just too deep.
But I never seen, most of the time when they run like that, no matter where they finish, you've got 1 or 2 cars that you think is really dominant, that's really the best. I didn't see anybody being the best. I didn't see a Ford or a Chevrolet, Toyota, One of those out of that group was the strongest Ford. Who knows? Looked like the 21 was really good.
He was,
but he got shuffled around, and then
well, he was speeding coming out off pit road. That he got a speeding penalty. Him and Nate at the same time.
Yeah.
And
that don't help.
No, but mistakes kill you, and of course John Hunter, coming out of the pits, I guess there's a leakage, a water leak somewhere down there coming out, and evidently he hit it and spun him out.
But
I guess he had to come back and get tires, but they never did clarify that.
And he wound up getting a lap down.
Yeah, and he no caution to make it up.
But he ran up front there for a little while, and then the first thing I knew, they was passing him on both sides. So I don't know what happened.
I don't either.
Whether he got caught. The deal there is you run, and if you have to completely let off on it, then the momentum's gone. And people just pass you like standing still.
But we're saying as bad as that, the 11, the 43, and the 54, and 23 all got. I'm not sure they didn't let all the way off of it and have to hit brakes, Richard, as bad as they fell back. What I mean?
When the one car got.
When the one car just stopped them,
Yeah.
But the 77, he made a daring move. If he hadn't made the move, it would have been the big one.
They would have been a big one.
Oh boy, I don't know.
I guess it was. And I don't know how they can solve that problem with all the cars running the same speed. And even though the track's wide enough for 4 cars, you got to have 2 cars or 3 cars in a line to be able to go anywhere. And that's the reason the third line didn't start there at the end of the race, because there was nobody was gutsy enough, I guess, to pull out and hope somebody else pulled out with him. Because if he knew that he pulled out, he was going to go to the back of the line.
But that was unusual for Talladega that late in the race, Richard, that they didn't start the third line.
Right. And most of the time somebody got guts enough to try it. But if you're sitting there running wide open, because they got to running pretty quick there at the end of the race, after the gas mileage, after they made pit stops, then everybody running as wide open as they could. So when it's all running wide open, they all run, within 10 or 15 100ths of each other. You don't pass anybody running at that speed.
They had a race. You said it. They had a green flag. They had a checkered flag. It was a race. But what could they have done to have been better?
I know that's what I'm saying. I sit there in my mind, would horsepower help anything? I don't know. You mean, but they got these cars so draggy that if the car's leading the race and the car's comes up behind him with a good run on him, all he does is pulls over in front of that car and he just stops that car. You know what I mean? He just like he puts on brakes, but he's still running wide open. So, that to me, I don't know what they need to do, because to me that's not racing. I mean, you can go out here and stand on the side of the interstate and watch cars run up and down the road, and that's what it looked like. It looked like basically they was under a caution flag all the time. But
you said they was driving their butts off.
They had to keep off with each other. Okay.
But I'm sitting there thinking, when they're four abreast there, Richard, and it's just hum-ho, And then when they qualify, they drive with one hand holding a
steering wheel. Yeah.
And
went out the window.
You're scared. You're scared.
I had a death grip
holding on the steering wheel like somebody's trying to steal it. But okay, it's on to something else. But the cars brought a lot of this on, Richard.
Definitely.
The cars brought so much of it on.
It's not the drivers. The drivers are doing everything they can to get something out of the car, and there's nothing there as far as what the other cars are against.
Golly, can you imagine a spotter? and there's pressure on everybody there. Don't get me wrong.
I watched the truck race, the Infinity race, and ARCA race, and they were pretty good races.
Wasn't bad.
You mean they raced each other and they were able to pass each other. Now, what the difference is in the aero drag and stuff on each one of them, I don't know. But they put on a pretty good show, and luckily, all three races, they didn't have the really big one.
Big
you know
one.
What I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm glad about that. You mean?
Of course, now we're getting into another 1.5 mile track in Texas.
It's going to be a whole different ball game.
Different ball game. And one thing about Texas, I don't remember much about it. I know I've been there. I probably remember more about Martinsville or something than I do Texas. Of course, it's been around in different times. But 3 and 4's banked like 4 degrees more than 1 and 2.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Or maybe it's 3 degrees, but I know there's difference in banking. And does that suit this car, or does that help the racing, or?
I don't have a clue. I don't know where.
Okay.
I don't know that 2 or 3 degrees would make a whole lot of difference.
Well, it's got to, Richard.
The deal is when you go to Texas, Talladega, all the cars handles decent. Okay, when you go to Texas, the difference there is if the cars are handling, they're going to be the best.
But okay, getting back to Talladega,
cars run the same speed.
But getting back to Talladega, I'm not sure that the 22 car didn't complain about his car driving a little bit, because he said he was extremely loose one time back in the pack, and he got up to the front. And I don't know where it was, but it was. Of course, he got disqualified, but he finished 5th. And Richard, he takes no prisoners either. So,
sure.
But I don't know. We got a week to digest this one and get over it and wait for Texas.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is forget about Talladega completely. Of course, we got to go back down there, right?
Oh yeah,
and run another race. So maybe we can figure out something, or NASCAR or crews can figure out something to make it a little bit more interesting for the spectators.
Well, maybe a lot of them enjoyed it. I'm sure the 2 fan club did. So that's somebody that enjoyed it. So
it looked like they had a decent crowd too. So
yeah, they did have. But and then as they show the infield and all that, Richard, it's like we've talked about. They having an event, and people enjoy that.
Oh yeah.
And maybe they think about that more than the race. So it.
Anyhow, we go to Texas. Like I say, it's going to be a completely different deal, because the races we've come up to, and except Talladega, they've had 1 or 2 dominant cars. So, who's going to be the dominant car at Texas? It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, you can't look down the list here and see somebody, maybe a couple of cars that wasn't up front, but all these. And Richard, okay, we're getting back to Talladega again. But that when the 20 car and the 17 wrecked, running side by side, first and second, and that didn't cause a big one.
No.
How in the world did they do that?
Well, the outside
Or
car,
how did that happen?
the outside car come down and took the inside car, and they both went to the inside.
Quick.
Yeah, I mean, just that quick.
Yeah,
and man, everybody, the guys behind them never even had to let off because it happens so quick.
But I guess the 11 car must have upset the 20
the 11
car.
car hit the
20 car.
20 car.
A little bit wrong. I'm sure he didn't mean to, but okay. I think you'll be on the road next week, and I think you and Kyle do the thing.
Yeah, we're going to be on the motorcycle rides.
Be careful and try not to mess it up, okay, man?
I'll try to stay on the road. You know, I don't know anything about it except what I've heard, okay? But one of them, a screw come out of according to what I hear, come out of a spoiler, and the other car had 3 washers in it, and you're just allowed two washers. Now that's getting pretty dadgum nicky-picky as far as I'm concerned on any kind of rules. So, I mean, and neither one of those made any effect on the race car. And it was just something that was in the book, and they say, whether it helped or hurt, we don't care. It's wrong. So they're looking at disqualifying them.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember us. I remember arguing for rules and everything, but I can't remember back in the day NASCAR being that picky. But I'm not sure we had as many picky rules as they do today.
According to circumstances, I guess. You know, that's kind of the rule, right, or the way things are working. People block people. You know, back in the day, I don't know that there was that much blocking going on. If they did, they got knocked out of the way. And now, the way when the cars do block, they just slow the car behind them up. So it's not a deal where if they got enough room to block, they can get by with it.
I think they got lucky when the one car was blocking real big, as slow as he's running. The 77 done a heck of a job getting through, and I think the rest of them, it took them out of it moved them back quite a bit, even though they didn't wreck. I think it moved. And there again, I'm only speculating, but golly, they're still running high speeds.
You know, they all look the same. It doesn't make any difference. So, you know, I don't know if it's the car's fault, the rules' fault, the driver's fault, the engine fault, NASCAR's fault. You know what I mean? It was just one of the different kind of races. Most all the time, Talladega is more open. Daytona's open. But this particular race, everything was so grouped together that they couldn't really race each other. What caused that, I don't know.
Yeah, the next gen car, it's what it is for these 3, you know, Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta. But we've had some good races. The 5-car dominated Bristol unreal. Other than that, they've been some decent races and interesting racing, Richard. And I guess over the past years and everything, they've been boring races before and everything, because you've stunk up the show before, you know, quite a bit, and we've been on the losing end of that and everything. But it's still NASCAR. It's on television, draws a lot of fans, and
hopefully we can get it a little bit better.
Well, we probably need to get better in some cases, but it always gives me something to look forward to, whether I'm watching it on television or going to the race personally.
To me, Talladega wasn't a race; it was a happening. And although the guys were racing each other, the cars just kept them from doing what they wanted to do.
Talladega, I'm going to use a scale of 1 to 10. It's about a 3.